want to thank you all for tuning in to Black Video News and welcome you to Black Excellence, another episode. I'm joined today by Justice Jason Pulliam, right here in the Alamo City. How you doing today, Justice?
I'm doing great, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, sir.
Same here.
Justice, let's go right into it. Tell us a little bit about, we're going to take the justice off, but tell us a little bit about Jason Pulliam.
Sure. I'm a Brooklyn native, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. First in my family to attend and graduate from college. I came to Texas for my legal education, graduated from Texas Southern University's Thurgood Marshall School of Law in 2000, joined the United States Marine Corps after law school, and served as a JAG attorney in the Marine Corps until 2004, where I returned to Texas to represent Texans in civil and criminal litigation.
Served our country too, huh, Justice?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Former Marine.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit. I want to know, and I want my viewers to know exactly what the Fourth Court of Appeals is, and how do you serve as a justice? I don't know if a lot of people know. They hear the word judge a lot, but not justice.
Yes. So a justice is an appellate judge, and the Fourth Court of Appeals serves 32 counties here in South Texas. We hear all civil and criminal appeals in that 32 county district. We are above all of the trial courts, and we sit directly below the Texas Supreme Court for civil cases and the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals for criminal cases.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I want to go right into it, Justice, because it's not every day that I get to talk to a judge, which is good.
Yes, absolutely.
But I want my viewers to know also a little bit about the side when we talk about police brutality. And I know it's a touchy situation in our country right now, and you may want to word it differently, so please touch on that for me, and word it differently too also if you want.
Sure, and because I'm a judge, Keith, we are bound by the Judicial Code of Conduct, and so I can't comment specifically on matters of policy, but I will say with regard to community relations and the challenges we face in our country, I think it's very important that our citizens educate themselves on their rights with regard to the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and Sixth Amendment. So they need to learn when a warrant may be required, when there are exceptions to the warrant requirement. They need to know when their right to remain silent attaches, and that's custodial interrogation. So you have to be both in custody and be questioned by law enforcement. And then there's Sixth Amendment right to counsel when that attaches. And then also state statutory provisions and constitutional provisions that assist citizens when they have interactions with law enforcement.
Okay. Also, let's go into Black Lives Matter. Touch on Black Lives Matter.
Sure. I will say that whenever folks have protests, first of all, they have an absolute right to protest under the First Amendment. They have a right to seek redress for grievances, and I think we should encourage that as long as it doesn't ever become violent. Folks probably need to have a specific agenda and list of items that they seek redress for those grievances. They may want to petition their city council or their state legislature and then seek to change by being part of the process.
I want my viewers also to know, because you're the only African American here in the Alamo City, and then also there's a wide, broad span of jurisdiction that you cover as well as a justice.
Correct.
Touch on that a little bit too also.
Sure. So I was appointed on January 8th, 2015 by former Governor Rick Perry as the first African-American justice to serve on the Fourth Court of Appeals. And the Fourth Court of Appeals has an over 120-year history. So I was very honored to receive this appointment. I served as a county court judge before that, and county court judges, just like it sounds, handle a specific county. So I was a Bexar County judge. But now I hear civil and criminal appeals for 32 counties. So we go from San Antonio all the way down to Laredo, and we cover most of the Hill Country. And so any sort of matter, whether it's family relations, robbery, murder, contracts, deceptive trade practices, oil and gas, we hear all those different types of matters in this 32 county district.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of ground to cover, Justin.
Yes, sir, it is. And I drive it.
Wow. So you're out touching, touching the people, talking
sir.
to the people
Absolutely.
in these different counties.
Yes, sir.
What have you been doing? Because I want my viewers to know that there is an election. Voting is right around the corner when we talk about the presidential election, but there are a lot of different people on the ticket and ballots.
Right.
And I know that you're up for re-election too as well. Touch on that, because I want my people to know when it takes place, because there's so many different things on the ballot that people need to know about besides the presidential race.
Sure. The election day itself is November 8th, 2016. It is a Tuesday. We have early voting in Texas, and we have 2 weeks of early voting, which begins October 24th and ends on November 4th. In that early voting time slot, if you look at your ballot, you will see races from President of the United States all the way down to County Commissioner. It's important that everybody knows that what's required of them to vote. As your viewers may know, there's no longer the voter ID requirement, but they should look up the Texas Secretary of State's website for any changes in the law with regard to the requirements for voting, but there is no longer the voter ID requirement. They can also check their county elections office. So in Bexar County, you can go to the Bexar County elections office and find out the documentation that you can use to show up and vote. It's important that folks educate themselves about who's on the ballot in the different races. We have judicial races, we have a sheriff's race, we have county commissioner's race. So these are in very important offices that affect you in your day-to-day lives, maybe even more so directly than the national races.
When we talk about the people that are on the ballot, but I want to touch on that because you touched on education and people educating themselves on who these people are that they're voting for.
Right.
What separates you from the candidate, Justice Pulliam?
I say in my specific race, I have both civil and criminal experience, both as a practitioner and as a presiding judge. I have tried criminal cases in criminal court. I have presided as a trial judge over criminal cases. I have also tried civil cases to a jury in Texas courts, and I've also presided over civil trials as a presiding judge. My opponent only has civil experience. Our docket on the Fourth Court of Appeals is about a 50-50 split between civil and criminal cases, and I was prepared on the first day upon accepting the appointment by Governor Perry to handle those cases, and this is no time to make a change.
How can my viewers find out more about in depth who Justice Jason Pulliam is?
Sure, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and for more in-depth information, you can go to my website, jasonforjudge.com.
Justice, it's always a pleasure. I want to thank you for being on Black Excellence today. I want to thank Justice Pulliam for being on Black Excellence today. If you want to be in the studio audience or you want to be on Black Excellence, feel free to reach me at kscott@avistaproducts.com. That's right, you can reach me at kscott@avistaproducts. And I want to thank my guest today, Justice Jason Pulliam, and we'll catch up with you next time right here on Black Excellence. As always, I'm Keith Scott. Be encouraged.